thank you to one of our supporters here for bringing the megaphone. All right, and Marta, thank you, Doña Marta. And Doña Marta would like to let everybody know about a children's march that's going to happen on April 23rd. So we can talk to her for more information. All right. Is it in Abril? In Marzo, okay. The 23rd of March. Okay. Thank you all for coming to tonight's action. And it came out of a conversation of a group of teachers and supporters of teachers that we are aware of a couple of specific bills that are being considered right now by the State Senate of Arizona that victimize children, that are targeting children. And I know as teachers, this is more than just a job for us, it's a vocation. We do this because we care about kids. And when we think about kids and children being hurt, that hurts us. So that's really our main motivation for coming out here tonight. If you can imagine, how low can a politician go to be attacking the most vulnerable members of our society? My job as a teacher is to educate children, not to deport them. So we say education, not deportation. All right. And okay.
Dígales que, no, usted dígales que este racismo, persecución va a afectar tanto a legales como no legales, maestros, doctores, todas las escuelas, iglesias, es lo que va a afectar.
Okay, Doña Marta, she says that this law will affect everybody, documented people and undocumented people, and that it's going to promote discrimination against everyone in the community. I wanted to give a little background information on SB1407 and SB1611 because not everybody may be familiar with the details of those proposals. The dangerous part about SB1407 is it looks like that one is on the fast track to pass, even though it directly violates the Constitution of the United States. We know some of our politicians here in the State Senate are fond of saying, the law is the law. But what about the Constitution? Isn't that the supreme law of the land? It looks like politicians like Russell Pierce don't care about the law when it doesn't agree with their objectives. And the objectives of politicians are quite clear. They've said that they want to make undocumented immigrants, families, and children feel unwelcome in Arizona, and they want them to leave. I say, what a waste. What a waste of human capital. What a waste of potential. As a teacher, my job is to educate children, not to deport them. SB 1407 will require schools to collect information on immigration status and to turn over a list of students who are undocumented to the state government. Now, we can only imagine what the state government will do with that information. They could use it to try to restrict students from registering for schools in the first place, which, by the way, is the specific goal of SB 1611. That bill would forbid students from registering for classes unless they could prove documentation. Even though the right to an education is protected by the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, as guaranteed by the Supreme Court decision of 1982, Flyler versus Doe. Not only is it legally protected, but it is morally protected and ethically protected. It's the right thing to do. Can you imagine a whole generation of young people growing up with no education, nowhere to go, and no hope? How much will that cost our state? and think about the wasted talents of young people who will grow up and contribute to our community with their work, with their consumer spending, and paying taxes. As a teacher, as teachers, we oppose SB 1407 and 1611, and we demand that the State Senate stop considering these bills and eliminate them from consideration permanently. Thank you.
Thank you. Una cosa les quiero decir. Usted tiene padres de familia. No hablo inglés porque no quiero, no me gusta. Hablo mi idioma. Pero sí le digo una cosa. Ya basta de esas personas racistas que estamos con perfil racial, persecución. ¿Por qué han tomado el poderío? ¿Quieren pelear contra Dios? Pierde. Les llamo por su pie. Van a perder. Grande desgracia viene a Arizona. Lo declaro y lo decreto. ¿Por qué? Porque están peleando contra Dios. Somos creación de Dios. Somos importantes. Usted tiene familia. La SB1611 le va a afectar a maestros, hospitales, iglesias, el Capitolio, todos los que tienen negocios, va a afectar. Yo no vengo a pararme aquí y ni le tengo miedo a que me metan a la cárcel, porque más poderoso es el que está en mi corazón que el que está en el mundo, porque esos diablos que están adentro se tienen que salir muy pronto. Epidemias van a venir y no lo deseo, pero el que pelea contra Dios pierde. Dios le bendiga y no se eche para atrás, no le tenga miedo, porque usted es quien confía en la propia carne, confía en Dios. Dios si lo meten a la cárcel, Dios lo va a sacar así como sacó a mi hijo Dios. Ok, Dios le bendiga, los quiero, únanse a los otros. Yo no puedo venir porque estoy trabajando, pero únanse. Hay miles de gentes que tienen miedo en las escuelas, no quieren venir. ¿Saben por qué? Porque no tienen a veces para el bus, porque no tienen comida, porque no tienen ayuda de nadie. Pero si quieren nuestros impuestos, quieren nuestro dinero. ¿Para eso? ¿Para qué? Para que hagan las leyes más recias, más fuertes. Y usted no tiene, si usted puede y tiene la capacidad, luche. No se deje vencer y no le tenga miedo al diablo. Dios le bendiga.
Gracias, Marta. Gracias. Yeah, we have another teacher here to speak to you.
I'm actually a teacher in training. And I can tell you that as a daughter of two educators, my grandma was a librarian, my other grandma was trained to be a teacher, my grandpa was the first principal at Fees Middle School. As someone who has education running through her blood, I didn't decide to become an educator so that I had to check people's papers. I decided to become an education so I could grade them, right? I decided to become an educator after working in inner city Phoenix schools and seeing how much these kids want to learn. I have never seen children who want to learn more than kids in situations where most people say they can't learn anymore, right? It is so important that we let these kids go to school because education should never be a luxury. Education is a right you are born with. And for that, I think it's necessary that we re-examine these bills before ever instituting them into a situation where they're actually implemented. Because this is devastating for the teachers, because I know as a future teacher, I want to teach anybody who wants to learn. I don't care whether they have papers or not. Bring them to me and I'll teach them. With that said, I know I can say that these bills would be devastating to the educational system and devastating to the economy as a whole. You're not educating all of these children who can raise up into the economy and put that money back in, you know, bringing us out of the recession that we all don't like very much. So, with that said, who's speaking? With that said, I want to thank you guys for coming out here and supporting us, because we could not have done it without you.
My name is Laurita Moore. I'm a community college teacher. And for the first time in my life, I am terrified to live in Arizona. What is going on here is the epitome of what happened in Nazi Germany. And a lot of people don't like me to bring that up, but I have to, because the type of legislation that's going on here is identical, and people who are old enough to remember World War II understand that the rhetoric that is coming out of our state is exactly the same as the rhetoric that was used against the Jewish population in World War II. And it is terrifying to me that it could have even gotten this far. At the college level, I wish I could say we had thousands and a huge number of students clamoring in our classrooms, but the reality is that there are very few, because there are so many obstacles for students to finish high school and then make it to college. And those few that have made it to college, that are always among the best and the brightest, because they have been tried harder than anybody else, they are facing persecution. And the people in our legislature are doing everything possible to prevent these brilliant students, these hardest working students, from getting an education. And what's really going on, and what really scares me, is the education level of the people who are governing us. We have a governor whose new nickname is GED Jan, because she never in fact finished high school, got a GED, and only has 2 years of technical education. And for some reason, the people of this state think that that qualifies her to be governor. The only thing that qualifies her to be governor is her hatred, and the people of the state are voting for hatred. We need education, not ignorance. And the problem is that we have a very ignorant population who don't want other people to have more education than they do. And so what we are experiencing now is the dumbing down of our state, the dumbing down of Arizona, and we cannot afford that. We pay taxes so that our population will be educated, because we all benefit from a higher level of education of our community. And the worst thing that we can be doing is taking education away from people. Again, at the college level, these are the best and the brightest students. Why would you want to prevent your best students from getting a college education? It's terrifying, it really is. And I'm going to turn the mic over to some other people, but let's do everything we can to make sure that we have the highest level of education for everybody. These kids, especially at my level, don't cost us anything. I can tell you with absolute certainty that they raise the academic level in the classroom. They are always the hardest working, they never miss classes, they always turn in their assignments because they value their education. Nothing means more to them. These are the students that we want in our classrooms. We don't want the people who want to dumb our state down, and we don't want to enable those people who are not as qualified to take the places of those who are superior academically and are harder working and are going to complete their classes. Sí se puede.
Thank you. Thank you, Laurita. And we have another teacher who would like to speak.
Hello, I am here with some friends and colleagues from ASU. We're faculty, associates, and graduate student teachers there. And we wanted to come and stand in solidarity with teachers who are being threatened with becoming ICE agents in K through 12. And we wanted to stand against, SB1611 and 1407 and bills that, go with the general attack on education that we're seeing against ethnic studies, against education period at large. We're seeing massive, hemorrhaging budgets at ASU and all over the state. And in the class I taught, we spent a lot of time looking at private prisons and the detention centers and who's profiting from those, and made a direct connection between the expansion of the prison system and deportation systems and the amount they're costing and the lack of funding for education. So I'm here to encourage our legislature to think about funding education instead of prisons and to stop the attack on children and on their parents who are here and not try to make people into second-class citizens.
Thank you, Berkeley.
Thank you, Berkeley. We've got a couple of teachers that are going to come up together.
Okay, voy a hablar primero como inmigrante, como ciudadana de los Estados Unidos y como maestra de estudiantes que tienen el derecho a vivir aquí, que tienen el derecho a recibir una educación, porque sus padres, por medio de los miles de cosas que compran en este país y las miles de cosas que producen en este país, benefician a este país. Y tenemos el derecho de, como maestros, educarlos y ellos como estudiantes recibir una educación.
Thank you.
Woo! ¡Sí se puede!
I'm not sure I caught everything that you just said, but we're both 7th and 8th grade social studies teachers in South Phoenix, and we have spent a lot of time working. Our curriculum is based around social justice curriculum, and we've spent a fair amount of time talking about heroes who have fought for the rights of others, including Dr. King and Cesar Chavez. And our kids are very aware of what's happening to them right now. And their families work here. Their families contribute to our society, and they should not be treated as if they were second-class citizens.
¡Woo! Había una madre de familia que dijo, yo voy a hablar en el idioma en el cual me puedo expresar y amo. Y digo yo, esta parte de Estados Unidos es México. No era, es México. Somos un país bilingüe y tenemos que tener esa dignidad y ese orgullo de ser bilingües. Nuestros estudiantes deben de saber que su idioma debe de ser respetado y sus derechos como ciudadanos, no de Estados Unidos, como ciudadanos universales, deben de ser respetados. Esta no es una cuestión de derechos civiles, esta es una cuestión de derechos humanos. Y tenemos que salir a la calle a hablar. No estamos rogando que respeten nuestros derechos, estamos exigiendo que respeten nuestra dignidad humana. Son derechos humanos.
I don't think I can be that eloquent, but it's more than just civil rights. It's about human rights and dignity. The state was Mexico. Arizona was Mexico a long time before it was Arizona, and that we should respect the rights of both languages, that it should be honored and respected. And I mean, two languages, being able to be fluent in two languages, something to be admired and respected and not treated as if it were something extra or something that wasn't necessary and needed here.
Esta conversación es un poco irónica y apropiada porque hace poco mostramos a nuestros estudiantes unos videos acerca del movimiento por los derechos civiles, no solamente del pueblo afroamericano, sino también de los trabajadores inmigrantes, y también hablamos de la cuestión del holocausto en Alemania. Y nuestros estudiantes nos preguntaron, bueno, maestras, ¿y ustedes qué harían si ustedes tuvieran que decir que nosotros somos indocumentados? Y las dos dijimos, estamos listas para ir a la cárcel. Vamos a romper la ley si es una ley injusta.
Una cosa importante, mira el mapa de Estados Unidos con México. Está pegado con Estados Unidos y somos de América. Aquí no hay ningún ilegal, como ellos lo han dicho. Somos de América y pertenecemos aquí. Este es Estados Unidos, es un país de inmigrantes que sostiene Estados Unidos.
Gracias. Okay, tenemos otros maestros que quieren hablar. We have other teachers that want to talk, and we're running up against the time that we have. So I'd like Sandra to come up and say a few words.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sandra Ortega, and I'm an ELD teacher. You know, I teach students how to speak English, and I want to emphasize the importance of learning a language. And you know what? America, the United States, is still a great place. I came here in 1988 as a political refugee from the Civil War from Central America, and I got a great education because of this country. And I want to emphasize the importance of education. I became the person I am because I was educated here in the United States. So don't forget that. It's still a great country. And my students show up every day. We have about 140 homeless students. They show up every day because they want to learn English. You know, those kids are taking 2 or 3 buses just to go to school. And I am not an immigration officer. And we need to look at those bills. We put these politicians in there. So we have the right to question what they're doing. And we must stop their politics and their racial agenda. Mr. Rasopir, I don't see anything. What happened with the economy? Where are the jobs? What is going on? Why he's not concentrating on what we really need in Arizona? Thank you very much, and I would appreciate if you can pass the message to others, and please, please register to vote.
I just wanted to add one thing, simply because I think a lot of people aren't aware of this or don't think about it very much. But there's a lot of new information that we have as we move into the future. We know so much about people and about genetics and about who came here and when they came. And one of the things that I haven't heard a lot of people about that we need to be very respectful of is that the people of the Americas came here tens of thousands of years ago. That's no longer a theory. We've got genetic testing. So the original people of the Americas inhabited this continent for tens of thousands of years and are now being criminalized for the migration that they have always done for tens of thousands of years by a people that have only been here for a few hundred years. So I think it's time that we need to respect history, and we need to respect people, and we need to respect the land, and we need to respect the people who have migrated freely on these continents for tens of thousands of years.
Diane, where'd you go? Diane? Okay. Tupac? Here we go.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Bueno, otra vez muchas gracias a todos. Thank you so much for your commitment and your presence. This is what was originally intended 500 years ago, when the world was initiated into the reality of the simple fact and the basic law that we're all human beings. And there are none of us that are created superior to any others. We're all relatives, brothers and sisters to each other on Mother Earth. And that is the teaching that we bring forward once again today. That system of values which is codified in the legislatures and the codes of laws that should be the systems of justice that we live by accordingly. Those are the external expressions of what are our internal values that we come again to assert today as the voice of the original nations of this territory, which was mentioned ago so appropriately in terms of the migrations that have taken place, not only in this hemisphere, but throughout Mother Earth. And to that purpose, we also recall and are reminded by the statement that was put forward, the Arizona Educators Compact with Non-Compliance. This Thursday at 6 o'clock at the Phoenix Union High School District, this document will be submitted in public comment to the Phoenix Union High School District to reflect once again and assert once again what these common values that brought us together. But we also want to share as part of the message that was brought forward by Mahatma Gandhi, facing a similar situation in what was India at the time, and another constituency of Anglos, but in this case they were not Anglo-Americans, they were truly the Anglo-Indians. Another migratory flow that arrived in another continent but perpetuated the same type of racial discrimination and oppression that we are living here in Arizona. And Gandhi, who faced that reality at that time then, similar as we're doing here now, he had these words, and I would share them with you today. There is a higher court than the courts of justice, and that is the court of conscience. It supersedes all other courts. From that court of conscience, which is our common reality, from the four directions of Mother Earth, we convene and will continue to make our presence here. It used to be the time that the economy of this territory of Arizona was built upon the back of Mexican labor. The Mexican labor force sustained the agricultural economy of Arizona as it developed into the service economy that it turned into. After 1987 in IRCA, the service industry in Arizona was all sustained. The construction industry was also sustained by the migratory workers coming from Mexico that provided the cheap labor pool for the Arizona economy in its phase of expansion. Now, Arizona, in a phase of recession, is looking to the same Mexican population, but in this case not as laborers, not as farm workers, but as residents of the constructions of the prison systems that are being used as the primary economic driver for these policies that we're facing now. Mexicans, you make money off of them as workers in the construction, in the farm, in the fields, and now the plan of these legislations to make money off of Mexicans as inmates in the incarceration system that is tied to the lobbyists that are sitting at the table with John Brewer every time she eats lunch. So we will continue this battle for justice just as Gandhi did. The principles are the same, the fight is the same, and as they say, Martin Luther King, we will overcome.
Thank you. I think that'll do it for our speakers this evening. I want to thank everyone again for your presence here, for your support.
Lo mismo que dije.
Okay. And then we'll have. Yeah. Well, I want before we do that, I wanted to open it up and see if any of the press that's still here, if they had any questions for any of the teachers.